up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Allen. Thanks for joining us for the news this evening. Critics say Taiwan's decisions to hand out civil defense booklets could actually heighten tensions with China. Still, some officials are defending the move. Alan Liu reports.
Taiwan has been giving out this updated civil defense handbook. Brought out in September, it's meant to help people in Taiwan prepare for emergencies and understand the potential risks of a Chinese attack. But now the move has strong criticism, especially at a time of rising tensions between Taiwan and China.
他发这个手册，某种程度就告诉台湾老百姓准备打仗。
The Defense Ministry responded to the criticism during a legislative session on Monday, saying future revisions would take comments and concerns into account. But officials also emphasized the importance of preparing for the possibility of an attack from a powerful adversary, China.
我们也是模仿现在俄乌战争以后，在欧洲的这些国家，它先进的国家也依照这个方法来制定它全民防卫手册的一个全民防卫韧性的一个要求。
Some Taiwanese officials have also been passing out handbooks in person. The Deputy Secretary General of Taiwan's National Security Council gave out copies on Friday. He called China's government a troublemaker and said the book could help boost Taiwan's ability to protect itself.
我们现在正在做的事情就是透过所有的努力去确保台海和平稳定能够被延续，也确保现状不会被单方面的破坏。
But residents have had mixed reactions. Some believe this is the right move.
我们可能大家都过得好像就是比较幸福啦，所以没有那个危机意识啊。我觉得这个政府加进来，让我们可以多知道这方面的知识。
While others say the book serves more for political purposes.
对我来讲，我觉得它的政治工具感觉用的比实际运用程度还要大，所以我觉得它的实际效果应该没有到很好，因为毕竟这些东西网络上能找得到，我觉得没有必要浪费钱去做资本。
Distribution to nearly 10 million mailboxes across the country is ongoing. In the meantime, the Defense Ministry says the handbook is accessible online, and that versions in English and other languages will be available soon. Fu Hong and Alan Liu for TaiwanPlus.
3 people have been charged over the hacking of Radio Taiwan International's website in September. The 3 had worked for the national broadcaster as employees or contractors. They allegedly altered the banner on RTI's homepage to display China's flag. Prosecutors are charging them with computer security offenses and breach of trust. One of the indicted is former RTI engineer Wu Zhenxun, who faces up to 3 years in prison. Wu is accused of multiple illegal acts and of planning another similar attack on National Day in October. Tensions between China and Japan show no signs of letting up as their diplomatic spat over Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae's remarks on Taiwan enters its 3rd week. Beijing is now appealing to the United Nations for support, while Tokyo says it's planning to deploy missiles to an island off Taiwan's east coast. Larry Isiano has the latest.
A spat that started 2 weeks ago shows no signs of letting up. Japan and China are locked in an escalating diplomatic dispute after Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae told lawmakers that the country could intervene in an attack on Taiwan. Beijing claims Taiwan and has never ruled out taking it by force if necessary. China is now pressing its allies to join it in condemning Japan. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, on a visit to Tajikistan, called Sanae's remarks shocking and said she crossed a red line. He's the highest level official to comment on the matter so far. And on Sunday, Japan's defense minister visited Yonaguni, the country's closest island to Taiwan, and announced government plans to deploy missiles there. For Taiwan, the quarrel highlights how easily the geopolitical peace it hopes to maintain can be tested.
台海的稳定绝对是最重要。那目前在这个地方极力扩张军备的不是日本，而是中国。
China now looks to push things to the next level. Last week, its mission to the United Nations wrote a letter invoking the horrors committed by Japan during World War II and stating its grounds for attacking Japan if it intervenes in a Taiwan Strait conflict. China also accused Sanae of violating international law. Experts say the letter is a way for Beijing to make its grievances appear more credible.
这个中国呢是要想把这个中日争端呢来国际化，那就是借由向这个联合国的申诉 那当然，这个中国呢，可以将本次这个中日双边的一个台海跟安全议题呢，转化为国际法及多边机制框架下的议题来提升这个中国它抗议的一个正当性。
But by turning to the international community, China may be raising Taiwan's profile and encouraging greater cooperation with what the foreign ministry here calls like-minded countries.
自然这次的事件是我们让台湾呢的战略这个的一个地位提升也使得这个原本台湾就正加入美日同盟三边合作呢具备更高的一个正当性跟制度化的空间那这个台湾地位的提升呢伴随着却是更高的强度压力
That pressure is being felt by both Japan and Taiwan. In the weeks following Takeichi's remarks, China began and extended live-fire exercises in the Yellow Sea, which borders Japan. And Taiwan has seen several surges in Chinese military activity near the country. China has also refused to meet with Japan's delegation at this year's G20 summit in South Africa, though Tokyo says it's still open to dialogue. And with Beijing now turning to friends and the UN to drum up support, chances of its spat with Japan getting resolved soon look increasingly slim. Justin Wu and Larry Ciano for TaiwanPlus.
One of Taiwan's furthest outposts, a tiny islet within view of China, is welcoming Taiwanese visitors to experience a slice of military history. John Van Trieste reports.
A boat packed with tourists approaches the coast of a tiny islet with a big story to tell. This is Dadan Island, less than a square kilometer in size, but crucially less than 4 kilometers from the Chinese coast. It's part of the offshore Kinmen group of islands, one of the furthest bits of land governed by Taipei. Dadan Island fought off a communist Chinese attack in 1950. And with China still in clear view just over there across the water, it's been standing guard ever since, in case Beijing ever again tries to assert its claims over Taiwan with force. A visit here leaves a deep impression on tourists.
当过兵的感想就是认为如果那时候来这边当兵的话，真的是蛮辛苦蛮累的，然后有那种两岸对敌的那种紧张感。
Until 2019, this was a place closed off to all but the military, and it's still under close guard. But today, Taiwanese nationals are allowed to tour the bunkers and other sites. These include a propaganda broadcast station and a slogan painted in characters big enough to be seen from China calling for unification, though of course not on communist China's terms. Though closed again during COVID, the island reopened to tourists last year. 25,000 people have visited since.
这里是一个就是很前线的地方，然后一定有它的历史的痕迹在，然后来到这边可以体会当时我们不知道的一些体验，就是当时的一些战况啊什么的。然后我们的导游也跟我们讲了很多这里当时的故事，所以让我们更深入的了解金门的一些文化。
Local officials say tourism on the island is about learning from history and hoping for a peaceful future.
金门县是唯一有打过巷战的地方，所以我们知道战争无情，和平无价。我们透过这样的一个包装，我们能够让整个大嶝岛的开放是一种和平的一种象征。那过去就是历史了，历史已经过去了，我们展望的是更好的一个未来。所以透过这样的一个营地的整理，我们希望把这样的精神传递下去。一个普世的价值就是一个和平。
But tension has never left this place. China regularly sends its Coast Guard ships into the waters around here. It's a cat and mouse game that sees Taiwanese ships sent out to chase them away. And the island even featured in a Taiwanese drama imagining a full-on Chinese invasion. From here, new construction like this airport on the Chinese skyline shows just how close an attack could come from. On Dadan Island, even with its tourists, the story of Taiwan-China tensions isn't just the past. Leon Lien and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has once again been passed over for membership in the CPTPP. The trade bloc did not name Taiwan as one of the 4 countries whose applications would move forward at its most recent meeting in Australia. To find out why, Chris Gorin spoke to Roy Chun Lee, an associate research fellow at the Zhonghua Institute for Economic Research and Taiwan's former representative to the European Union.
The most recent CPTPP Commission meeting ended in Melbourne recently with no mention of Taiwan's application to join the agreement, despite the fact that it submitted an application more than 4 years ago. In your view, Roy, why does this keep happening?
Well, just like any other international trade agreements, there are always two domains for existing members to consider when they are facing new applications. The first one is, of course, merit-based domain. The other is the political reality. So on the merit-based considerations, I think most CPTPP members have already expressed their agreement that Taiwan met all the obligations, all the requirements as a new member of the CPTPP. So you can see Taiwan's delay is because of the second consideration, that is the political domain. Because currently, both China and Taiwan have all filed our application into the CPTPP Secretary. So for the CPTPP members to consider Taiwan's applications, they have to really address the issue of China, the so-called China issue. That is China's explicit opposition to Taiwan's CPTPP membership.
So if member countries can't find a way to address both Taiwan and China's applications to join the agreement, does that mean Taiwan's application is effectively frozen, or could something happen that might see this situation shift?
Well, the world has changed a lot in the last 12 months, especially since President Trump introduced the reciprocal tariff trade regime. So the global supply chain is now under tremendous pressure to reform. We can see a lot of investments are leaving China, and also we are seeing everyone is rushing to the US to invest and create new supply chain ecosystem. So what I'm saying is that, yes, in the last 4 or 5 years, Taiwan's application has been effectively blocked by the China issue. But I think the new supply chain situation really creates some pressure for other countries to reconsider. So I'm still confident that in the next 2-3 years, Taiwan will be able to produce even more evidence for CPT members to start seriously considering the advantage to move Taiwan into the next phase.
The response from Taiwan's foreign ministry this year used some relatively strong language, saying member countries are sending the wrong message that they are succumbing to political coercion. Do you see this as a change in Taiwan's diplomatic strategy to take a more assertive stance?
Well, I think for a country like Taiwan, especially all these difficulties Taiwan is facing in international politics, our ultimate principle is remain flexible, agile and flexible. So even though at this very specific occasion, MOFA used very specific, relatively strong language to express our frustration about the delay and Taiwan's blockade because of China's political pressure. So I think the frustration this year is different, not only because of the slowness of Taiwan's application, but also because of the lack of information that the Commission chair is willing to share with all the stakeholders. So I think hopefully, I don't think this is a permanent position that we have taken. I think it is very 2025 specific.
That was Senior Research Associate Roy Chun Lee. And thanks again for joining us here on What's Up Taiwan. Download our app to get our news reports and other programs on your phone. Finally, we leave you with images of the Christmas demon Krampus scaring crowds in Slovenia ahead of the holiday. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. See you next time.
Thank you for sharing our passion for food and Taiwan. Veggie Island explores the vibrant world of plant-based cuisine.
Wow, this is amazing.
While Taiwan on the Rocks uncovers the stories and craftsmanship behind every sip.
Have you ever tried Taiwanese beer?
Are you ready to taste even more of Taiwan?